Hi, welcome to week 7. So this week we're looking at orchids and mints. So the Orchidaceae and the Laminaceae family. And here we are over this side here. So only small numbers of indicators in these, but you can find these indicators quite commonly, and the orchids would be, in my mind, a relatively high quality indicator. So if you see those, there's generally speaking lots of other indicators that are present as well. So let's look first at the orchid family, and there's a beautiful common spotted orchid flower. And on the right hand side there you can see the manila plant actually, and this is one of the interesting plants that is found in the orchid family. Of course they're very prized for ornamental products and somewhat for products such as vanilla, but they are one of the biggest plant families. It's kind of big race between them and the daisy family to see who's got the most plant species. Lots of orchids around the world, mainly tropical. In Ireland we've maybe 30 to 40, no one's quite sure. They hybridize a lot and there's kind of discussion about what constitutes a species, but perhaps we have some of them that are found nowhere else in the world, which would make them, really quite important to protect. But again, we just lack the insight of that. That's going to be a lot of genetic analysis to see if that is the case. And why are they positive indicators? Because they tend to indicate good quality environments for other plants. So they do not like, generally speaking, lots of nutrient inputs. They're listed in the EU Habitats Directive structure and function for grasslands as a high quality indicator. So, in other words, you have positive indicators, but you have some that sit on top of that in those assessments that are even higher quality indicators. And this would be one of them. And you can see the orchids there, and you can see self-heal in the background. And for us, it's useful in that if you get to know orchids, they're found in grassland and peatlands and woodlands. The orchid flower is quite an interesting flower. So it's, think of it in threes. So the first 3 layers, the outer 3 layers that you see are 3 sepals. So sepal 1, sepal 2, and sepal 3. And then the inner layers are your petals. So petal 3 there is the elongated one. It's called the labellum, or the lip on the orchid. And this beautiful one here, this is butterfly orchid, and there's your common spotted orchid again. Orchid flowers don't just occur in one, they occur in clusters, kind of a spike clustered together. And the leaves tend to be quite linear, so you can see it's almost like a whirl of leaves coming up. They're kind of oblong or ovate, but linear, and you can see some spots happening there in the leaves. So one of the most common ones you're going to come across is common spotted orchid, and there's the leaves of it in a kind of heathy grassland. You can see the sedges there beside it, the sphagnum moss. There's the leaves of the devil's bit scabious. There's the leaves of tormental. And there you can see the linear leaves with spots. There's the cluster of kind of pinky whitey flowers. And here you can see, just as it was going over, those are the seed heads of the orchids. Where they do occur, they can occur in quite nice profusion if they get the right circumstances for them. What you can find as well is that you might just find 1 or 2 at the edges. So, you'll find kind of both situations occurring. This is one of the nicer orchids that we have in Ireland. It's called the lesser butterfly orchid. So again, this is quite a heathy vegetation, and I took this in. See the leaves there a little bit more linear. It's a beautiful, delicate looking kind of ballerina, whitey, creamy, greeny flowers on it, and it's got those nice oval leaves that tend to occur just basally there. Sorry, I was going to put some more photos in, but the orchids themselves, you've got some nice photos in the booklet about them. I'll put some more together, especially of the leaves, in the little leaf booklet that I'm going to get together for you. But moving on to the mint family. So the mint family, and this is common mint, they can be quite difficult to identify in some cases, but the ones that are picked as the common indicators or the key indicators for the acre score system are generally well recognizable or easily recognizable. So range of flower types, they have opposite leaves, and there's rosemary on the other side there, and you've got a square stalk which tends to be quite kind of robust or woody when you feel it. And here's your typical flower. It isn't really typical at all, in fairness. It just, they're kind of difficult family to find many key characteristics, but you have 5 petals, and there's the lower lip. So the top one there is 2 petals joined together, 2 either side, and the bottom there, the lower lip. And then your sepals are all united, so it's 5 sepals united. And this top petal here is sometimes called the hood, because it's like protecting the other bits of the petals. And the square stalk is very distinctive as well. So there's your common mint, and I always think of common mint that you'll actually smell it generally before you see it, because when you walk over it, that lovely aromatic minty smell will come up. It's got clusters of flowers that are just generally at the top. Sometimes you can find them under the leaves as well. Very purple, kind of almost burgundy colour to the stem, and a purple or burgundy kind of edging to it as well. Bugle is a lovely plant that is just about going over by mid-June. You can see there it's kind of got a smaller hood than the other flowers we were looking at, but it's got the lip and it's got the 2 side petals as well. To me it kind of looks bronzy coloured, almost kind of gold bronze, and the leaves are distinctly opposite, and that blue flower is relatively unlike anything else that we have. It doesn't really tend to have too much of a distinctive smell, this particular plant. And then you have self-heal. So self-heal does look a little bit like the bugle, except it's got an upper head, and it's not kind of distributed throughout the rest of the plant. There the leaves are opposite. The stalk is also square, but it is quite downy, and it's much greener, brighter in colour. And sometimes when you're looking down on self-heal, you can't even see the flowers, but you might see what's left over is the sepals, basically these burgundy sepals. You can see the kind of purple edge there to the outer bit of the leaves, they're kind of ovally shaped, and it can be quite plentiful where it does occur. And the last one then in terms of mint is this beautiful plant, wild thyme. So wild thyme, very aromatic. Sometimes wouldn't find that unless you actually crush the leaves, and they're tiny little leaves along that very small little robust stem, and they're in great profusion, but also very tiny are the little flowers. You've got to pick it up if you're unsure. Just have a smell of the leaves, crush them slightly, have a smell, and it should smell like thyme. So your instructions for week 7, keep going, keep doing what you're doing. I wanted 2 plants from the orchid family. Now that mightn't be possible. Most of you will find common spotted orchid. You might have early purple orchid if you were out and about earlier in the year taking the pictures. If you can only find 1 orchid, just put 1 orchid in, but we might find another one on the field course that we're together. I want you to try and find 3 plant species from the mint family. You should definitely be able to get self-heal. Most of you will be able to get bugle, I would say. The mint leaves are out. The flowers might be a little bit delayed. And if you are lucky enough to be near Cockairs grassland or coastal grasslands, you probably should be able to pick up thyme as well. So see how you get on with those.